Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to Two Protons in a Cloud. Each week, we have a live dialogue where we dig into some of the industry news affecting the developer community and chat with our guest of the week on a topic we all want to know more about. I am Adrienne Kreft, one of your hosts and a technical evangelist for HPE Helion.
Hi, good morning, and I'm Sujay Maheshwari, your second host, and I'm a dev evangelist at HPE Helion. We have a group today visiting from London, Jenn Pan and Tyler Nappy, our fellow developer advocates from HPE Haven OnDemand. Will be bringing over the will be taking over the show, Adrian, today, and bringing our guest of the week, Brand Beckett.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably good that they're coming on to take over since you need to pack for India and I have a concussion. It could be a really weird episode.
Yeah.
So, coming up with your next app, we all know is an arduous process, even if you're just doing it for fun. So, thinking about apps for the large enterprise means mobility and search are now critical components in your applications. But how do you optimize such apps to grow and scale and be able to utilize big data securely and efficiently? So today, we're bringing you two use cases for the HPE Haven OnDemand portfolio. And Haven OnDemand is a platform for building cognitive computing solutions and data-rich applications using APIs. So it should be a good episode.
Yeah.
But before we delve into our discussion, what's happening in the news this week, Sujay?
So, one company that many not realize is releasing code onto GitHub. Yes, Walmart. Yeah, seriously, Walmart. Legacy retailer has had a long-standing mission to contribute to the open source. Tuesday was met with announcement that they are launching a new open source DevOps platform for cloud and application lifecycle management. OneOps. It's called OneOps, and it's developed by Walmart Labs.
Awesome. So, though they made it clear that they are a cloud user, not a cloud provider,
Yeah.
and the platform is all about putting the power back in the hands of developers, so making it easier and faster to write and launch apps. Other features include monitoring tools, auto healing and replace when things go wrong, and auto scaling tools. So, for admins, even, the platform also offers integration with enterprise identity services, quota management, as well as a configuration management system. So, they really put the investment in.
Yeah, and definitely something we should be watching, in next few months, years, where this go. All right, moving on. An interesting article from the director of Open Nebula, which I believe was published on LinkedIn, where which you may have caught on his opinion that the OpenStack cloud bubble could burst, citing the investment from vendors in the last several years being disproportionate to realistic returns. He calls out how it now seems unfeasible that multiple vendors can make a profit from OpenStack.
Yeah, it's an interesting read, and he also has a section where Google shows that the buzz in OpenStack is trending down, while Docker, for example, is seeing serious upward momentum. And I can see that, Sujay, even with our last few episodes, seeming to always turn towards a conversation around Docker.
Yeah, Docker and containers. Yeah, you are right, actually. I
Yeah.
didn't, yeah.
And what's the kind of the whole thing with GitHub going down yesterday? Did you see that chatter?
Yes. Bunch of my CI/CDs failed. So uh, I was looking at their infrastructure and how they are hosted and where they are managed and stuff like that. I want to read, what happened, why happened, all of that stuff. And maybe in the next episode we can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I saw a lot of humor and a lot of pained faces yesterday, so
Yes.
we'll see how it all plays out. Let's turn now to our guest of the week. Notice guest was plural. You've all met Jenn Pan, Developer Community Manager at HPE Software Big Data. Thank you, Jenn, for joining us today. You've also brought along Brian Beckett after commandeering his office in Cambridge. Brian is the head of Big Data Platform Applications at HPE. He is passionate about guitars, motorbikes, music, Git, Jira, and building solid applications. Based in Cambridge, England. He's worked for HPE for 7.5 years, and you can follow him on Twitter at Cosmic Flame or on GitHub as Brian-Beckett-HP. Thanks, guys, so much for joining. So to kind of kick us off, Jenn, what's going on over there and kind of what's getting you excited right now?
Thank you for having us. It's great to be back. So as you previously mentioned, my team and I, the developer relations team for Haven OnDemand, we are currently in the UK, in Cambridge. We have been spending the past week here meeting our R&D team, which is a whole new experience for me. I have not been to UK before, so I'm learning a whole bunch of new terms and trying blood pudding, various things. It's been fun and just been exciting seeing the R&D team, kind of getting to see behind the scene and meeting everybody, kind of seeing the flow of, this is how APIs work, what people are working on. So it's been really eye-opening experience, and I was able to track down Brian, steal him today for our show. So I have with me Brian, and I'll just have Brian kind of give us a little background on what he does and what he's working on.
Hi there. Thanks. So, as previously mentioned, I'm the head of Big Data Platform Applications, which is a glorified way of saying we do front-end stuff. Me and my team have built a lot of demos over the years to showcase various bits of idle functionality. And since we created Haven OnDemand, we've built several applications and demos on top of Haven OnDemand to either showcase functionality or sell functionality. So we're responsible for a handful of different products, from the idle administration tools all the way through to parts of Haven Search on Demand, our new Search on Demand service, which is built on top of Haven OnDemand, and also Find, which I think we'll be talking about today.
Great. And would you say currently, like with all the projects you've worked on, what's the one you're most excited about?
So the most exciting really has to be Find at this stage. I wasn't expecting it to become the most exciting, but it's been a very busy year, and here we are. So Find is our completely open source, MIT licensed, dual stack end user search interface for idle and Haven OnDemand. I'm sorry, that was a lot of buzzwords, so let me break that down. All the code is available on GitHub. So if you go to github.com/hpautonomy/find, then you can look at all of the code for this. It's MIT licensed, so anybody can do pretty much anything they want with this code. It's dual stack, so it works against existing on-premise idle installations and also works against Haven OnDemand. And it's an end-user search interface, so it's for the person who's actually searching the system, not for the person who wants to administer their content, not for the person who wants to choose where the content's being ingested from and how it's being processed. For the person who's been told, hey, we just bought Haven OnDemand or idle, here is the new search UI, use it when you want to find things. And that's what it's for.
And how long have your team been working on this app? I mean, I look over at you guys this week, and I know you guys have been really busy. Kind of everybody's got their heads down testing this interface and all of that.
Yeah. So it started, oh gosh, when did we start it? It feels like a million years ago, but I don't think it was. It was probably about a year ago. Actually, rolling back the clock a few years, we built a similar end-user search interface just for idle, and I came up with the name Find back then. We call that one Seek now, as it's not very good compared to Find. So we started afresh about a year ago with the goal of building a very simple search interface for Haven OnDemand. And that's still available on GitHub as version 1 of Find, if you look in the tags. There's also a demo of it, which is linked to from the GitHub wiki somewhere, but I think it might be find.havenondemand.com off the top of my head. It's very old. It didn't really do much, and we thought we were done with it and moved on to other applications. Then our Haven Search on Demand project came about, which is building a set of search and search administration interfaces on top of Haven On Demand. And we realised we needed an end-user search interface, so I said, well, we've got this demo Find, and we had a look at it and went, okay, well, it'll need a lot more functionality and it needs to look a bit prettier. So we spent the last year or so prettying it up, improving the functionality. It does a lot now, and there's even more planned for the future. And in December, we took some time to work on the back end of it, to take it from a pure Haven OnDemand application to being a dual stack application, so it works against idle. So this one search interface is the default search interface for enterprise idle installations and for Haven Search on Demand. So I'm pretty proud of this. It's come from really not much to something surprisingly big.
Yeah, so you went from version 1 a year or so ago. What version are you on currently?
10.11. But
Wow.
that's not because we've had that many iterations in between. So we started on version 1, which was kind of a single user mode search interface. You put your idle on demand, or Haven on demand as it is now, API key in the config file, and there was no security on it. Anybody could access the interface, could then search Haven on Demand. The version 2 of Find, we added, well, we took this single tenancy, no security interface and made it multi-tenancy with idle on demand single sign-on Haven on demand single sign-on integration. So there was a lot of work there to make that happen. So it's got to the point now where for Haven Search on Demand, we have like 3 or 4 servers running Find, serving all of our users, but it's completely multi-tenancy, so it scales very nicely.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, just thinking about, spending a year or so on this thing from version 1 to version 10, I mean, you had to gone through with your team kind of this roller coaster of emotions, frustrations, and success. Do you have any advice for developers out there listening to this as they're working through their own app, trying to take it from, an idea to version 1 to something potentially for enterprise or?
Sure. So jumping back slightly, sorry, I forgot to say, the reason it's on version 10 is because when we made it work against idle on-premise, we matched the version number to the version of idle that we support. That's why we went 1 to 11. So advice for other people building applications? I would, gosh, I've got a lot. I've been doing this for quite a few years.
I feel like it would be almost like dating. It's just this roller coaster.
What I would say is don't fear having some process in place. But don't stick to the processes as published. Take Scrum or Kanban, figure out what works for you, what works for your business model. You can move very quickly with a good process in place. Aim to have your code constantly in a releasable state. Git, the source control system, makes this very easy. Use something like Git Flow to manage your feature branches. Keep your development branch clean and releasable. Constantly be pushing that continuous integration style to a demo server where you can see the current state of it. At the end of every sprint, every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however long your sprints are, release your code and push that onto another server. Have it there so you can look at it, test it, get all that infrastructure built in as soon as possible. Because in the last few weeks of the project, where you're reaching the deadline and you're desperate to ship, you don't want to be sitting around saying, well, we've never actually run this anywhere apart from on our machines. Well, it works on my machine. Why doesn't it work on the server? So get it done. Get the good stuff in place at the beginning. Use source control. Use a ticketing system. Get some kind of lightweight process in, and come up with a plan. You can change your plan, but have a plan.
Those are great. Thank you so much on that. So going back to Find, kind of more diving into the technical aspect of it, does it use any of the Haven OnDemand APIs?
Yes, absolutely. So when we first built Find, it used maybe 2 or 3 of the Haven OnDemand APIs, and since then we've expanded it to use a fair few more. So as Find is an end-user search interface, we use query text index to search. We also use Find-related concepts to help you refine your search. We also do some really clever stuff with, is it listing? I can't remember what the API is called, but there's a way to query your text indexes to find out what fields they've got. It might be list index fields. And from there we find out how the fields are configured on the server. And from there we build a dynamic parametric refinement display to the side. So that's basically faceted search. We can find out what's set up for parametric search and build queries against Haven OnDemand according to what's actually configured on your server. It's all, you can point it at pretty much any custom text index, and Find will adapt to how you've got your text index configured and give you useful search.
Thanks, Brian. And if any of you are listening and wanted to try out the APIs yourself, it's on havenondemand.com, and you can select, I believe it's on the developers, and it'll drop down to the API sections, and you'll be able to test out all of these 60+ APIs and see them for yourself. So Brian, back to you. Tell me a little bit about the query profiles. What is that? As I'm still learning all of our APIs.
Sure. So you're one step ahead of me there. I forgot to mention that Find uses query profiles. So query profiles are an interesting bit of interplay between Find and one of my other applications. So for on-premise idle installations, a year and a half ago or so, we released a product called Search Optimizer. And Search Optimizer broadly deals with 3 different types of functionality: query manipulation, results manipulation, and results augmentation. So you set up rules in Search Optimizer to change your queries on the way into the system. So we've got things like synonyms. You search for cat, you set up a synonym rule for cat or kittens. We then change your search to cat or kittens, so expanding the terms in the search. Then it covers result manipulation. So the server returns this set of results. You've got a rule saying this particular search result should always be number 1. Then the system applies that change while the results are on their way out. So for example, if people search for blog on your company intranet, and you always want the CEO's blog to be number 1, or rather the CEO always wants their blog to be the number 1 hit, that functionality is exposed in Search Optimizer. The final type there is results augmentation, which is adding extra results to add wider context to your result set. So you've got your results, and then maybe you've got some promotions at the top, the side. In a commercial sort of setting, they'd be your adverts on your Google search. On a corporate setting, they can just be notifications. Somebody searches for human resources, and they get a promotion at the top saying, don't forget to do this mandatory training. Somebody searches for food or canteen menu, and they've got a result called out separately saying, here is the canteen menu that you can never find because we put it in a stupid place. So, on-premise, Search Optimizer uses an idle component called the Query Manipulation Server. In Haven OnDemand, we use a thing called Query Profiles, which is effectively QMS for Haven OnDemand. So we set up a query profile that just says, when this query profile is applied, do blacklists, which remove terms from the search, do synonyms, do promotions, do cardinal placement or pin to position, which is adjusting the results ordering. And as part of our Haven Search on Demand offering, we've got Search Optimizer in there, as it's another of my dual stack applications. So the data operator user can go in there, tweak their queries, tweak their results, and then find, when it queries Haven OnDemand, applies that query profile. So you've got control over what your end user, as a data operator, you've got control over what your end user is seeing. The data operator can blacklist a term, and then in find, when somebody searches for that term, no results.
Okay, so they kind of work hand in hand together.
Yeah. I should note there that Search Optimizer is not open source. Find is, Search Optimizer isn't, but ultimately query profiles are a documented API on Haven OnDemand. That functionality is all there, just the interface for managing them is closed source.
Okay.
So I've got Find here, and hopefully you can all see this. So we start out with a very simple search screen that's a bit inspired by some other simple search landing pages you might have seen before. So if I do a search for guitar, say, one of my interests, then we immediately dive in and start searching. So in this main panel here, we've got the search results. Then over to the right, we've got any related concepts which have been found. So based on my indexes, data that I've indexed into Haven OnDemand, here are some concepts that are related to what I've searched for. And I think I searched for something a bit too general, but we'll roll this anyway. Over on the right, I've got my filters. So there's a lot of public indexes that are available to search on Haven OnDemand, so Wikipedia, for example, plus my private indexes. I can also apply parametric refinement and filtering to my search, so only documents that were text XML. Let's search for something a bit more general and hope I get some better results. So cat tends to be a fairly common one.
Can you search afternoon tea?
Afternoon tea? I can do, yes. So what, let's search Wikipedia for afternoon tea, because most of my indexes are to do with Star Wars.
I've been really enjoying that with my visit in the UK.
So if we do a search on Wikipedia for afternoon tea, then we've got quite a few different results and some related concepts. So tea party, tea room, British Empire, high tea, which is a meal I think it's towards the end of the afternoon. For me, tea is a meal, by the way, because I'm from Norfolk in England, which is a bit more rural than some of the fancier areas of the country. So for us, our evening meal is called tea. Hey, you've learned something. You've all learned something. That's cool. And in Cambridgeshire, nobody calls it tea. So when I say it's tea time, everybody thinks I'm talking about getting a cuppa. So
with the index, you can add your own index source, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So as part of, you can either go straight to the APIs to add a new index, or if you're a Haven Search on Demand customer, you can use our nice UI there to set up a new index and index it. Now, we picked a terrible day to do this demo, as our operations team right this moment are in the middle of migrating the entire production platform. So that's why it's not particularly playing nicely. So I'll probably end the demo there, but I'll just quickly note, here is the source code. It's all on GitHub, github.com/hpautonomy/find.
Now that we cover search and find, both projects that you've worked on, are there any, what was the biggest project? I mean, both of these seem pretty big, but are there any that's kind of your prize app or kind of your baby app?
Sure. So about 2.5 years ago, we got an email from my boss's boss saying, hey, idle, it's great. There's this whole cloud market thing going on these days. Could we maybe do idle in the cloud? Is this a thing we could do? So my boss came out and said, Brian, have a go at this. And I said, well, okay, I'm an application developer. I can definitely do this. Building demos in a very short space of time is one of my skills I'm fairly proud of. I can build, not to boast too much here, but I'm pretty good at building quick demos that aren't too awful in terms of being spaghetti code. Mine aren't too bad. I'm rambling. I'm off topic. So I spent about a week hacking away at this. I picked Node.js, the JavaScript framework, for building my servers because I wanted something really quick to work with. So I got going. A week later or so, we did a demo to Mike, my boss's boss at the time, and he loved it. So he said, this is great. I want to fly to the UK and work on this with you. And I thought, oh, great, I'm going to be coding with him. No. So he showed up, and we had meetings for most of the day every day about what we could do with it, what direction it could go. And then I took my laptop home and spent the evening and half the night coding away on it, or staggering in the next morning showing my progress. And towards the end of that second week, I got a couple of my team members on to help me just because I was starting to crack and I had no idea what I was doing. At that point, the code quality started going downhill a bit. But Mike loved it, my boss Sean loved it, everybody loved it. So we decided we would go ahead with this as a project. And back then we called it Idle on Demand.
And what does IDLE stand for?
IDLE stands for Intelligent Data Operating Layer, which is what it is. It's marketing. I'm in dev. I'm allowed to say these things about marketing. So we called it Idle on Demand. A year or so later, we renamed it to Haven on Demand. So my little demo that I spent a couple of weeks hacking away at turned into a monster. A good kind of monster, though. More like Monsters, Inc. than a horror movie. So it started soaking up more and more developers. Everybody was super excited about it. Robert Youngjohn's the head of, well, at that point he was the head of autonomy, I think. Now he's the head of HPE Software, absolutely loved it. Everybody was super hyped. And we reached a point where I realized I had to let go. My background is in building applications, and here we were building an API platform, which doesn't really have much UI. I really like building nice, pretty, usable, meaningful, end-user-facing applications. I'm a UI guy, so I had to let my little baby bird fly away there, and it took half my team with it. But I don't resent them, because now we're building applications on Haven on Demand. So from a certain point of view, we're a customer. We get to find bugs in the platform that I gave birth to, and then go over and yell at the people who are doing it and say, no, it's broken again! And I say, okay. So that's probably the biggest... Sorry?
That's an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was. It was intense, but looking at it now, it's very odd to think that it started out on this very laptop that I'm talking to you from, just as a pile of not very good code as a demo. It's really grown legs. Yeah.
That is neat. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us,
Okay.
joining me on this call. It's been really fun just being, seeing the R&D team now, learning your story. Gives a whole different meaning to when I'm on the ground working on Haven on Demand at hackathons.
Yeah, this has been great, Jenn and Brian, for our audience as well. I mean, we do a lot on Cloud Foundry, so I'm glad, Brian, that you touched on what's happening in the cloud. But I think this is a way to kind of merge all of these tools for developers together and really make it accessible, easy, and efficient. So thank you so much again, guys. Any final thoughts?
I think just we're going to continue to seize the data.
And Brian's shirt. There you go.
Hey.
Perfect. Thank you all, and remember to follow us at 2Protons. That's the number 2, Protons. We'll keep you in the loop. We are back with all new episodes for 2016 and guests from all things cloud and a little bit software, as you can tell, even while Sujay is on vacation, and I'm still harboring feelings of bitterness since he didn't invite me along. All right, guys, see you next time.
Bye.